I'm Susan, and today I wanted to show you some of my experiments with bake and bend clay. I've been curious about that Fimo clay that I've seen all over the internet that looks like leather. It's not available in the US. And I'm convinced that this is something that gives a very leathery effect. I mean, this looks like a leather bracelet. It's soft, it's squishy. You would think this was leather, wouldn't you? No. It's actually bake and bend clay. It comes by the pound. It's basically 8 2-ounce packages. Unfortunately, you can't buy it in individual colors. That would be wonderful. It comes with a little roller. It was pretty inexpensive with a Michaels coupon. I got it for about $10.50. And you can create all sorts of interesting things. This is made with, of course, the bake and bend clay. And if you've seen the Cause Clay promotions, you know, they take the flour and bend it all up and undo it. You can bend this all different ways, so it's sort of like a rubber clay. You could use this for all sorts of neat things. And you can cane with it, which makes it totally unique. So let's get started and see what we can create with this. When I say condition the clay, most people who have never worked with polymer clays before don't know what I mean. Conditioning the clay means just basically waking it up. I like to cut it in slices. I run it through my pasta machine, but if you don't have a pasta machine, doesn't mean you can't condition it. It's just easier to do with smaller amounts than that large hunk. And I just basically roll it out, flip it on itself, and keep rolling it and flipping it on itself. And this will wake up all the particles in the clay and make it smoother and easier to work with. I have all my clay conditioned. I'm going to mix up some of my colors. I want a nicer green. So I'm going to mix some orange and green. I'm going to take this skin tone color, doesn't do much for me, and I'm going to add some of this red to it, see if I can get a nice pink. And this red is a little iffy because it's not a nice purpley or bluey red, it's more orangey, so I'm a little nervous it's going to turn this blue into mud. So I'm going to mix some more of the blue and green. Let's do that, and I'm going to mix these all up. And now you can see the difference in just mixing those colors down, how we've toned down some of these garish colors and just made them a lot softer. So I'll mix these 3 colors. Now I've got them all mixed up, but there's just something missing, and if you've watched me, you know I have issues. I can't move on without some good old glitter. And these are just some dollar store glitters. You don't have to buy anything expensive. They're really nice and fine. They come in all sorts of fabulous colors. Whatever you do, the sparkle will just come through in the clay. So just add a little bit of glitter, blend it in, add a little bit more glitter, and keep going. And I'm not going to add the glitter to all of my colors, just a few of them, so that when I mix them, I get that nice accent. And you can see it's just a gentle little hint of glitter in there. It's not a huge amount, but when we're with our finished product and we hit it with a little glaze, this little sparkle will just pop up. I've added glitter to these 3 colors so they have a little bit of sparkle. And now you can see we have this beautiful palette compared to the palette that we had then. If you want to know why I add the glitter, this is proof of how you see that delicate little sparkle. There is no glaze yet on this clay. This is just a natural clay with a little bit of gold leaf and some glitter, and what a beautiful effect you can get. So just adding some inexpensive glitter can really switch up your clay. I'm beginning with a bracelet form. You can buy these from Tiny Pandora, eBay, AliExpress. Sometimes you can find one. This one was just a bracelet I bought at H&M. If you find a plain metal bracelet, it will work perfectly. So you don't need to have a special one. I peel my bracelets off of this and back them with clay. To start out covering this, I'm not going to put anything on the actual bracelet itself. I'm just going to roll this clay out, wrap it around my bracelet form. And the easiest way to find your bracelet is just press it. Press it around. You can use a knitting needle or the back of a brush, depends on what you like to use, and you can just take the clay and push it against the metal. I even find an old pen does this, so go completely around this. Now I just want to take a minute and smooth this edge out and make it all pretty. Now to add my clasp, I'm just taking some wire. You can use any gauge wire that you have. I'm just going to bend it down around a round nose plier and create this little piece. I'm just going to cut it. You cannot put this piece directly into your clay. This will just pull out once you put a clasp on it. So you need to take the ends and twist them up. Now this does not have to be pretty because nobody will see it or even. And the more bend or twists, the more it can lock into the clay. So this little piece right here, I am just going to put on one side of the clay. And I'm going to bury it into that clay. I'm going to put pieces on top of that so that it's nice and tight. That is the way you can add a simple clasp. So there I can put a perfect little hook clasp right in between that. Beginning with this clay, and I just want to form a log. I want to create some leaves, and I want these thin and sort of natural looking. So I am just looking for similar sizes, and I'm not being perfect with this. I'm just making random cuts, as you can see. And this way I can get similar size pieces of clay. Now I have this little mold. It's from the fondant section on either eBay, AliExpress, or Wish. I shop on all of them. It was very inexpensive, probably under $2 with shipping. And it just forms together like this. It forms these beautiful little leaves with really no work. Now you could probably make this mold if you have a leaf in your garden and squish it between two pieces of this bendy clay. You could create whatever type of a leaf mold you wanted. I happen to have purchased this one, and I'm going to use water just as my release. This is just an old spray bottle I've stuck water in. And the way I just fill this is I squish this clay down into a little teardrop, squish it against my mold so that it sticks in, and then I just put the top on. And because this is silicone, it's really squishy and easy to work with. And you can get this beautiful leaf. Now this has a little tear in it. You might not like that. I actually like that. And if you need to trim your leaves up, I just used a scissor. Say I didn't want that edge over there, you can just cut the clay. And this is just a regular kid's scissor, so you don't have to have it a fancy scissor or anything. And you can create these beautiful leaves. I will continue creating these leaves. If you find that this is too plain, this is just a rubber stamp. I'm just spraying it with water. You can take your rubber stamp and just stamp on top of it so that if there is a blank spot, it looks like I've done something to it. I'm just going to start right down around this clasp here, and I want to press my leaves into this. And I'm going to use my knitting needle, and I'm just going to randomly put my leaves in here. Now, if I'm correct, and this is bendy clay, these little pieces that are all floppy should not break off. That's the whole point of bendy clay. And I'm just going to start from the other end, going on up. I have some of these pearls. This was just from the Dollar Tree. These are just glass pearls. You can get glass pearls from anywhere, and I've just taken the two top sizes. I've put them on a little piece of wire and curled up the end. You can see that it's just a little curly Q, and they're not very neatly done or anything. They're kind of messy. I'll make a neat little ball of clay, and I want to just tuck these little pearls into the area where I have the glob of clay. So you're not even really going to see that glob of clay. It's just to hold our little pearl pieces. And you'll see the wires, but I don't mind the wires. And that adds quite a bit of texture there. So I'm just going to continue around. use some gold eyeshadow. You can use any type of mica powder. This happens to be one that was LA Colors. It was a cheap one I bought at the Dollar Tree. It had a little casualty, but the product will still work just the same. And when I hit it on top of this black, you are going to see a magical change. What a difference that gold makes versus this clay. It gives a much more antiqued type of a look. Now, if you want more control, you could put it on with your finger. Now I have a tile here. I'm ready to bake my bracelet. I put it on a t-shirt so that I don't get any shiny spots or it doesn't melt and get really adhered to the tile. I like the way that this will keep it all matte and keep it in shape. I'm baking it according to the manufacturer's directions on the box. My bracelet is all baked and I need to take it off my form. I find that a razor seems to be the easiest. This is just a tissue blade razor. It's not really sharp like a single straight edge razor, but it's enough to get underneath and separate between the clay and this bracelet. And once you get it separated, it should pretty much come right off. I've never worked with this bendy clay before, so we're going to see. But it does have a lot of bend to it. I don't like the way the inside of that looks. I'm sure I could probably just leave it like that. I want to add a liner to the inside of this, and you could add any color you wanted. I'm going to use a little bit of my liquid Sculpey to attach the baked clay to the unbaked clay. And I'm just going to roll out a very thin piece that I can line this with. I'm going to take a stamp, spray it with water, and give it a little texture. Now that I have my design, and you can put your design over and over on this as many ways you'd like, I'm just going to take my tissue blade and pull it off my table. Now this clay has got some stretch to it, so you can thin it out and pull it a little bit if you wanted to get it thinner. And actually, I can take one side, take my blade and cut it, so that will match much easier on the inside of my bracelet. And don't worry that it's not perfect. I'm just going to fit it right inside of here. Remember, liquid Sculpey is a flexible liquid clay, so it should be just fine at adhering this. And just be a little patient with it. This is very wobbly, unlike the normal polymer clay that has more body to it because it is bendy clay. I'm just going to use an X-Acto knife and trim this up, just easier to get in here. If you don't have an X-Acto knife, you can use your tissue blade. Just be careful with it getting underneath and in here. And just trim around it. And now I'm just going to take my finger and blend all of these edges in, and blend and cut and blend and cut, and spend a little bit of time just getting them all even. And now that I have all the edges smoothed, I can take my stamp and just blend these edges in. Now I'm just going to put that gold eyeshadow on the inside just so I get it all evened out. So now that it's all finished, you can see how pretty the inside is, how pretty the outside is. I will bake this once again. And here's that finished bracelet. You can see how pretty it looks on, and it holds perfectly with a clasp. I have found that this clay is so bendy and so soft that it has a tendency to open up really easy, which is wonderful when you go to put it on or off. You don't have to be really delicate with this. I just want to show you how bendy this is. Look at this. I can almost open it up flat, no problems. I probably could, but I really don't want to break it. I actually like it. And the leaves are bounce back rubbery, so it's a very rubbery clay. It's kind of really cool for this bangle stuff. And here I've created another bracelet just using the white clay. And I have the same eyeshadow, except this one's a white pearl. I want to use some of this gold in the center of my leaves. And you can just take your brush, take a fine brush, and create mica powder wherever you want. Now, wherever you have put mica powder, the other color will not adhere. So if I put this gold in the middle of the leaf, the other color that I put on top of it will not adhere to where the gold is. So be just aware of where you put your colors, that nothing else is going to stick. So put your darkest color first, I find seems to work best for me. Now I like the way the gold looks just in the center there. I will just take a brush. And I want you to see up close this beautiful iridescent-y pearl with the gold in the center compared to the white clay with the gold. Makes a big difference adding that little touch of iridescent pearl. And I will. Now on my third one, I'm learning a little trick. If you go underneath one end and you push the metal down to a smaller size, it's real easy to just get this to peel right off. And this one came off clean that way, so it's all about practice and learning the tricks. And here is that beautiful white bracelet with the pearl and the gold. I want you to see sideways. These just bend right back, so they won't flake off like if they were polymer clay. And let me unlatch this and show you, I can open it all the way up. Not that you would ever open a bracelet this far, but you couldn't do that with polymer clay. You'd have to be very careful with it. And now to make a petal cane. You don't have to have a whole lot of caning experience to do this one. It's pretty simple. You don't need a pasta machine. You don't need all that fancy stuff. This one's really, really simple. We're just going to take some clay and take your roller. I've made just this triangle. As you can see, it's a really rough triangle of clay. That's all you need. And roll out some clay the same length as this. Now, if you have a pasta machine, you can roll this in the pasta machine. I want to show you, in case you don't have one, you don't need a pasta machine for everything. You don't need all the fancy tools that everybody tries to show you. You can do clay with just what you have. And it doesn't have to be perfect to be fun or beautiful. Now I'm just taking this piece of clay and folding it over the half of my triangle. And I'm going to cut this clay right at the end here. So you can see on each side, I've just got it kind of folded over. I'm going to take this teal one. I don't have a whole lot of colors to work with here, so I'm just working with what I have, and I'm going to roll out the teal into a shorter piece on top. I'm trying to work with just this one set of clay and see how much I can get out of it. It's my own personal challenge, and this is just a little bit shorter on both sides, which is what I want. As you can see, stack it on top. And my last color, I'm going to use this yellow. Why? Because this yellow will give an awesome little contrast. And I'm only going to use a little bit of this yellow, so it's okay. And I'm going to put this one right in the center there on top. Start to reduce. And to reduce, we're just going to keep squishing against the table like a triangle. And this will get longer and longer. And I'm trying to make it as long as I can, and then I will cut it in half. I'm going to cut it in half. Now you could measure this, but if you've watched me enough, you know I'm not really good at that. So we're just going to stretch it out a little bit in the back. This one's a little shorter, so make them pretty close to even. And then we're going to cut it one more time. Just eyeball it up. Unless you like to measure, then measure it. Now I'm going to stack these side by side, and we're going to squish these together and form another triangle. And I will do that one more time. So I'll speed this up, showing you that process. And now you see how I have that beautiful blend? This is where we get fabulous. I am just going to roll this in my gold leaf. Now you can use any brand, any kind of gold leaf from wherever you can get it. They all seem to work the same. No, this is not 24 karat gold. I get asked that question all the time. It's just composite gold leaf, adds lots of sparkle, and it's really fun. And you see I have the extra gold leaf on my fingers and in the spots here. That's fine. It'll fill in all the empty spots. See, it's on my hand. Just keep reducing, pushing that gold leaf into the clay. And reduce this till you get it to a size that looks attractive to you. I want this to be more like mermaid scales, so I want it pretty small. Now I do find it easier to just work smaller once I get quite a bit of it done. Now I'm rolling out a thin piece of green clay, and this will be for the base of my bracelet, and I'm just going to apply this over my base, and I just want to knock these edges off with my finger, and I want to install my little clip pieces so that they will be buried underneath my cane slices. I've let my cane sit for a few minutes, so it might still be pretty soft. I'm taking my tissue blade. I'm just going to make slices. I'm just going to take my slices and start layering them up from the bottom. And in between those points, I'm going to layer another cane. And I like to start side to side. And I will just continue this all the way up till I get to the center of the bracelet. You can see how those 2 points meet. It has almost a feather, kind of a mermaid scale look. And you can see that little bit of gold leaf just popping out amongst things. So I will continue going down the side till I get up to the center. Now I have half my cuff covered with all my beautiful little canes. And you can see the yellow color that looked a little garish just popped so gently on the tip of those canes. So it gave a nice contrast. And I will start at the other end here, just the same as I did on that end, going over my little wire pieces and adding the canes, just building them up the exact same way. And that will give us this nice mirror image. I have these beautiful rhinestones that I really feel belong on this. You can see those colors just go perfectly. But I need a way to install these. I can't just stick them there. They'll probably fall out, especially if this clay stretches. So what I need to do is create a little ball of clay. I've got a little bit of gold leaf here. I want to roll some of that onto this. I like that little bit of edging of gold leaf. So I'm just making a circle of gold leaf. And I'm going to put a little bit of liquid clay as an adhesion for my rhinestone. And I'm just going to completely encircle this rhinestone in clay, all the way up on the sides, so that I don't have to worry about it just popping out. And now I'm just going to take a pencil eraser and just kind of smooth that edge around and about it, moving all that clay down. And since this is wet clay to wet clay, I can just push that rhinestone right in the center there. And for my two other rhinestones, I'm going to encase them the exact same way, just using another scrap of clay. Now, if I had several packages of this clay and I could do whatever I wanted with it, I probably would make a contrasting color of these little petal canes. But I'm trying to work with whatever I have in this package to show you what you can do with a single package of clay. And so I am going to work with what I have. And I'm just going to build up around those rhinestones. I do like a little gold leaf along the edge here. Just take a few broken pieces with your finger and break this up. I will bake this, some liquid clay, and line this so that it looks a lot nicer. Here is the finished piece of that bracelet. Quite beautiful. You get this beautiful cane work, and I have been playing with this quite a bit because I really, really like this bracelet. And I just want to show you how bendy this is. I can completely bend it out and it goes back. It's like it has a memory. Once you've baked it in a certain position, it seems to remember that position. And my rhinestones stayed nice and fine. They didn't open up like I was worried about, so I probably could use some smaller rhinestones in the future. Now I'm going to make another petal cane using this pink color I have and this purplish color. This is that red and blue I mixed together with a little glitter to create a purple color. And I'm just trying to make it a little bit longer. And I want you to see how I do this because it's learning how to manipulate the little bit of clay you have. And I'm just putting it right down that center fold. Give you an idea of my contrast. And the blue, I'm not going to use too much of it. Going right down the center of this. Maybe we'll just use this bit of teal. I've just got this little scoochy bit of teal left. That will be the unexpected, just a tiny little strip on top, sort of like the yellow was. Here we have this pink color, this purple color, the blue, and the teal. And here's that finished bracelet with that beautiful deep red cane and the blue. And I took the canes for the inside and I just put them together as a starburst and just made a square out of them. So it made a different pattern on the inside, made it look really pretty. And I want you to see how bendy this is. Nope. Now another way you can do something with these leftover bits is just to chop them up and make a Natasha. So I'm going to make a Natasha bracelet. This looks like probably enough for a bracelet with a Natasha. I'm going to chop this up so that I get a nice mix. Now to make a Natasha, I'm just going to give you a quickie. You're just creating a long skinny roll of clay and we're going to twist this. And this twisting action actually twists the colors inside. Some colors come out better than others. Some canes come out better. It's just a randomness, and just keep twisting. And the more you twist, the more intricate it can get, or the more muddy it can get. This is kind of a crapshoot of whether it's going to be good or terrible. But I don't want too much of that white or yellow in there, so I'm just going to give it one more twist. Now basically what we're doing is we're turning this clay inside out. I'm just going to take my blade and I'm going to cut it down the middle. And we've got all the red in the middle, go figure. You can never tell what's on the inside from the outside. And then I'm going to cut it once again on both sides. Now, if you don't have a big enough blade, you can also just cut it straight down like this. Now, to see what design I really have and which one I want to use, I'm just going to match this up. So I'm going to mirror image. But take your time matching it up so that you get it nice and even. And I like to take my ends and pinch them into points, and we'll see what this one looks like. They're similar but very different. Here's a form that I'm just going to take and start to just fit it around the form. This is the packaging off of, you know, the bag that cereal comes in. This is just the bag. I've just rinsed it off. I've got a little paint on the edge. I don't know how I got that on it, but this is very, very wide. And so I want to smooth it and stretch it out. Now I just keep playing with it, and how I smooth it out, I just take my plastic and getting it to distort. This clay is really sticky clay. You could do it with your fingers, but see, it has a tendency to get little like crumblies on it. I find with the plastic it doesn't get as crumbly. I will just play with this until I get it figured out, and I'll show you when I'm done. Now I noticed this. This is a baked bracelet, and this is the unbaked clay. This is the other side of that Natasha bead that we used. You can see the color difference here. The red is much more intense. The purple is more intense. All the colors are much more intense. So it's definitely not true to color like when you're using regular polymer clay. These are much more intense colors, so that black that started out as gray really does change over to black, and the white is even a little bit more intense on the baked piece. I just noticed this when I pulled it out of the oven. I hadn't done this piece yet, and you can see this dark orange looks more of a deep red here. It actually is much prettier. So just to give you a heads up, because I did not notice this before on the other pieces I baked, it's so slight it didn't bother me, but on this one I actually like it a whole lot better. And here's the finished Natasha bracelet, but this one I've lined with some green clay. I want you to see how bendy this is. I mean, I've almost got it straight, and it's got a memory, just goes right back. So you can see the beautiful design that you get, just the same as if you were caning. It gets a little funny when you're smoothing this out, so I find it just easier to put a piece of paper between smoothing it out and your finger. It kind of crumbles and separates, unlike the polymer clay. But what a great product, because you can do this with it. I never thought to use this, and I ran out of clay on this one, so this is the Natasha on the inside. To cover just my wire connectors, I used just a piece of cane that I had left over, that blue and yellow. I wanted to create a simple little hook clasp like this. You just need some wire. If you want to buy a lobster claw clasp, that's fine too, but this one, if you don't have one around, does the job. This is just a 20 gauge wire, and I'm bending it back towards me, just with a little round nose plier. I'm just going to leave a little catch at the end there. I'm going to take the end where the wire ends and bend it towards myself and around to create a loop. Any size loop, doesn't really matter. This is the loop that will just catch onto the loop that you created on the bracelet. So you'll have this straight little pin that doubled up and a little loop at the end. And I'm going to take the piece that I want to hook this onto and hook it through one of the sides so that I have that perfect little loop. This is the little tricky part to hold this up for the camera. And you're just going to take the other part, and I'm just going to take that wire, holding on with one of my pliers, and I'm just wrapping around that core set of 2 wires. And I'm going to continue wrapping around that base wire about 4 or 5 times, just so I know that those wires are totally secure together. I could do this much neater if I wasn't working 6 inches in the air, so I could be right up to the camera. But you can get what I'm doing just from seeing this. And so I have wrapped around that core. I'm now just going to clip it, because now I know that that bottom wire will not seep up when I pull this into a hook. So now I'm just going to twist that top part into a little hook, and you can see I can perfectly hook that bracelet, which is really easy. My pieces are all baked, and I'm going to just give a quick coat of Pledge Revive It. Now, as an experiment, I put this in my extruder, and I put some mica powder on it just to give it a different look. I wanted to see if this would work, sort of like memory wire. Because this clay has a memory to it, and it actually does. I didn't spend a lot of time on this. I just wanted to see if it worked, if it would be plausible, if it was that type of a product. I think it would probably work better with a snake rather than using the extruder. I don't really like the way it piped it out. But I was trying to use up the pound of clay and trying to think of different things that you could possibly use this for and see if it would work. Now there was one problem I found right there. There was a little crack in it after I baked it. I didn't notice that crack before I baked it, so I don't know if it happened in the oven, if it happened in the extruder and the heat from the oven made it crack. And let me try to unbend it for you just to show you. It bends pretty well and goes right back. And I've had some other pieces that I've just created some flowers and things with, and I wanted to just show you how you can bend it all up and it goes right back. So if you have something that you're thinking, whoop, this one broke, that could have been because there was gold leaf between the canes and I just took these little pieces of canes I had left. So I wouldn't really think that that's fair to the clay. But the rose didn't have any gold leaf and it's bending up no problem. And here's a leaf that I've created, bending no problem. All different ways. And I created these beads, which you're probably saying, what the heck are you gonna do with these? I thought these could be really cool on memory wire. If they bend, yes, they do bend. I wasn't sure they were gonna bend, but I think I should have bent them before I baked them to use them on memory wire, so I think I'll use them on an ornament piece or something. But I just used the canes on top. I wanted to see what this product does. Here's another little flower pod thing. I just wanted to see how much it bent, and look, no problem. It's not splitting or breaking. It's really like a rubbery clay. Here's one of those leaves I created for the bracelet. I just baked it alone just to see what it would do. And it's really, really bendy. Here's a piece that I thought could make a really cool mermaid's tail, dragon's tail, and you wouldn't want to worry about it bending. And you can see even a lizard tail. Just perfect. I could even see that as a bead, actually. A very cool bead. But I like the way that I wouldn't have to worry about this breaking or anything, and you can see the detail close up that I can get just with caning and this simple clay. It works very similar to polymer clay. Now this was just some canes that I had left over. I didn't have enough to do much with, and I was just curious, how does this come out on a thin piece? And you can see you get these beautiful scales on one side. This could be really cool on a book. You could even use this for a book cover because you can see I'm bending it and it's not breaking. I wouldn't dare do that with polymer clay, but this white one is bendy clay. Okay, we're gonna try to see the difference between polymer clay and bendy clay. This one is polymer clay, and let's see if we bend it. How far will it go before it breaks? It goes pretty far. Okay, it touches itself. Oh, that's the breaking point. Now, let's try that with bendy clay. Oh, didn't break. Oh, no, it's split. It's split right there. So, polymer clay split much worse. It actually almost broke in half. You can see that there, where the bendy clay just has a crack in it. It just has a different, this has like a rubbery feel, and this has more of a stiffer, leathery feel, just to give you an idea of the differences. Here's that sheet again I created just using some of my cane ends with the glitter. I have glaze on half of this, and the other half doesn't have glaze. I wanted to see if you could tell. I can't really tell from the monitor, it's too small, but I also have the exact same thickness. This is polymer clay. I thought, let's see on a larger scale how much this will bend. And this is just a sheet of polymer clay, so we can see it bends pretty well. But I'm not sure you could use this. Well, I don't know. It's cracking though. I can hear it cracking, and you can see the cracks in it. So polymer clay does not really bend much more than slightly. Now let's see what this piece does. They are the exact same thickness. I did measure them. Oh wow, this even feels way different. This feels like vinyl compared to the other one. The other one feels hard and thick. So you could definitely use this as a leather book cover. Really, really nice feel to it. And here's that flower again that I just used some scraps I had left over. And I just want to show you how it just squishes up. And it comes right back. It has a full memory to it. So no matter what you do to it. And then here is my favorite piece. This is just a leather cuff bracelet. I just mixed the ugly orange together with some green, got this nice brown. You can see there's a little bit of my gold leaf left over from some of my canes I mixed into it. And as the cuff center, I just wove this together like a corset. But I want to show you, if I undo this, this is just a simple long piece of clay. And I just baked it flat. So it's holding its memory, and if I had it on, I just want you to see, if I were wearing it, it fits perfectly around a wrist. So you can create a complete leather effect. You could even put studs on this if you wanted to. Just different things that you can do. So if you wanted to make a leather book cover or something, very easy with this clay. You don't really need to buy Fimo leather. This is very inexpensive and there's lots of versatility to it. I'm pretty surprised. I'm actually happily surprised. But you can see you can create a really neat leather effect. Now this was created just with the brownish color clay, and I put some acrylic paint on it and just wiped it off once it went into all the crevices. This was just a simple stamp, and I used a regular ballpoint pen to create the circles and the pen tip to create the dots. So you don't need anything fancy to create something interesting. So before you ask me, can you mix this with polymer clay? I cannot answer because I haven't tried it. You know, I wanted to show you exactly what you get out of that pound of clay. I got 6 bracelets right over here. I've got the leather bracelet, all of this other stuff just from that 1 pound of clay. So can you get much out of that? I think you get quite a bit out of it. And I used up stuff just like this little leaf and things just for experimental purposes. So if you were creating and not really experimenting like I did with this type of a bracelet, you could probably get a lot more out of it. I just wanted to show you what 1 pound of clay really does. It goes a long way. So when you see the price of a pound of clay for a box or something and you say, oh my gosh, that's so expensive, look at how much you get out of it. You're still there. I can't believe you watched the whole video. Oh my gosh. Thanks for watching. I think you should get claying too. You want to know something? My little pup everybody wants to see? She's right here. Right on my lap. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have lots of fun watching. Get claying. Bye.